What's happening with y'all? Back again. We chilling today. Um, we not trying to be here as long as we was last time at all. The goal is to give y'all 3 sets of 3 major pieces. I'm calling it the journeys because we're gonna talk about the paths, the realms, and a little sidebar that I found if you stay long enough. And so the way we really want to present this is understanding that, let me turn this down. The way we want to present this is that episode 2 was the paths, but these were the individual segments in between the Sephiroth. These were the possible routes in between the major markers. And so when we say the paths of the journey here, what we're talking about is more so which ways do people suggest you go? For the people that have been. Like, this isn't like a metaphorical thing here. This is a studied thing. The Kabbalah is a practice that people have been studying for generations. So, what different ways do they offer? Some people present these as the paths of I can't say that word today. Mysticism. And these are considered like the left hand path, the right hand path, and then the middle path. Personally, when I get into a lot of this, I get into the Eightfold Path, which is a Buddhist teaching that I favor. But we're not doing any of that today. We're more so sticking to the Tree of Life. And so, with that being understood, with the Tree of Life, we see that there is a couple of sides, a couple of columns, and a couple of pillars. We're going to get into the meaning of some of these things and some of the representation here, and we're going to have a little fun. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my ugly camera and let you see this nice presentation that I've made for you people while we go through this. And let me get to the screen so I can see. Okay, and so in the presentation here, what we have is our first image, and these images are kind of just like a baseline for showing how many different ways this symbolism presents itself, as well as showing how different societies depict these things. I want you to pay attention to a couple of factors here. The different circles here in which Sephiroth they contain, and the colors related to it, and the center of these. And so we talk about the idea of being like on the edge of divinity. or the edge of knowledge, or the edge of beauty, or spirit, or soul, or the edge of the foundation. You see what I'm saying? We kind of get into some of these more abstract concepts. So, as we get into this, I just want to get started a bit because, like I said, I don't want to be here all day. You start down here at the bottom at the footstool, and so this is basically where we're at here in what people call the human realm, or the Maya, or the kingdom, or God's kingdom, technically, depending on how you look at it. This could be the body. This could be the root chakra. This could be the planet. This could be the sun. It depends on your preference, your teaching, your school of mysticism, how you look at that. But the things that are related to our foundation, Malkuth, kingdom, survival, Maya, and the footstool. This is basically the beginning of the journey. However you perceive your current position would be this. And you would need to understand how you travel from there. And so let's look at the first path. And so technically this is what we would call the right hand path. Let me just make sure that I line this up right. Okay, cool. And so when we look at this, we look at the idea of going from the kingdom to victory, to mercy, to wisdom. And so the pillar is called, I cannot pronounce this word, and I will get back to exactly what it means when we get into the more complicated version of this in episode 4. It's when I'm going to get into a lot of these words and the meanings and the cultures that they respond to and things of that nature. But in short, this is the path of wisdom. And it relates to the sun and sun magic and things related to that. And so this also, in a later document, relates to something else that's important. But we already know that this is from episode 2 and 1, that this is the feminine head here. So what we see related to the left hand path is the path of contemplation. It's related to the left brain, emphasize the contemplation of the divine through symbols, archetypes, and sacred texts, seeks to understand the nature of reality. I did not see that typo. And the divine through intellectual and spiritual inquiry. This path may involve practices such as study, prayer, and rituals. And so what we see here is just more so what you think of like, more like the peaceful spirituality. You see what I'm saying? They just understand the stars and, all the simpler things. More of a study, more of a, you know. And so we get into the other side, which is intelligence, which is the left-hand path, which is tied to the pillar of Boaz, which goes from glory to judgment to intelligence, which is considered by the throne or chariot. I just realized something. Is that one on the other side? There isn't one on the other side. That's interesting. Things I should have looked at earlier. But as we move forward. I just thought about something. I did have some more notes here. Sorry for the awkward silence. I'm still getting used to actually being live and not knowing if someone's here or not, because I'm not on my Twitch, which also is stupid. Let's go see who's live while I'm looking at my notes. Curious, I didn't hear it. Okay. Nothing in chat. Cool. I haven't been ignoring anybody. But I wanted to come back because I did remember that I did take some notes on this. And so related to that pillar is the idea of the word Jachin is he will establish. And it's related to the white pillar of the south. This is Adam, Ptah, Vishnu, and Osiris. the masculine principles of creation, positive polarity, Pingala, Yang, and a lord of creation, the cherub of the right, better known as Metatron, the pillar of light and force, fire, divine spark, cherub of the right. Cherub of the right. I had it up there. Call of mercy, OD active plus OD active. I cannot say this name. I may show it later. Self-existent light, and the dagger of yes, cool. And that is generally the notes I have there. So let's get into that because I did rush through that a bit. And so what we're looking at here is the column of mercy. It's more of a yang, masculine. But like I said before, it's the feminine head with a masculine body. So it's that whole paradigm there. Pillar of strength and force. We're going to go back to these principles once we get all of them because I want to do some comparisons. Just looking through my notes, making sure I'm not missing nothing. Yeah, I'm that teacher. Sorry. And we're back. Okay, so we already went through all the principles here. Let's read these notes and then I'll go into what I have and I'll have a better flow going through the show, guys. I promise. Shit. And so the left-hand path is a path of transcendence. It deals with the right brain. It emphasizes the dissolution of the ego and the transcendence of the material world. It merges the divine through the experience of emptiness, nothingness, or the formless. This path may involve practices such as meditation, contemplation, and the use of entheogens. Now, it's a reason why I'm middle path, because I like both. I like sacred texts, and I like the transcendence of the ego, and I like meditation, and I like prayer, but the perception of one side without the other has always been strange to me, but we'll get into more of that later. And so, just so you know, entheogens are things that allow you to perceive things outside of this realm. Some people perceive it as like simple things like shrooms, and then it gets into things like ayahuasca, which are ceremonial more so. And then there's a whole list of things that can be considered entheogens. Contemplation, meditation. So these are more of the thought-based ideas, just like inner work, which also relates to the moon and reflection and intelligence, because there's an idea of contemplating this. But not too much. And so what comes with this is the column of severity. It's yin, feminine, passive, or dark. Like it says, the temple of Boaz, which is inner strength. The pillar of the north. It's related to Eve, the Holy Spirit, Shiva, or Isis. The feminine principles of creation, negative polarity. Ida, yin, lady of evolution, the cherub of the left. Sandalphon? I cannot pronounce that name. Should have looked that one up. The pillar of cloud and form. It's related to the Merkaba, the Ruach, Elohim, Spirit of God. Reflected light, the Archangel. Oh, Sandalphon is an Archangel, of course, because Metatron is an Archangel. And it's related to the cup or the sun. And that is the left path. And of course my favorite path, which I don't have anything like specially just organized for the middle path because I didn't want to be overly influential on what y'all do with yourselves, but I just want you to look at this. So in the process of going through victory, glory, judgment, mercy, intelligence, wisdom, just look at, take a little look at foundation, beauty, knowledge, and divinity, and realize that these are the roots of these worlds that you edge on the other paths. And it goes to a star, or something we'll get into in the realms conversation. And so, with the middle path, we're talking about the path of balance. This is cerebral balance of the left and the right brain. This is brain coherence in action. Emphasizes on the integration of the ego and the divine. Leads to harmonious relationships with both the material and spiritual worlds. And this path involves practices such as yoga, meditation, and the study of sacred texts, which is literally what I was saying earlier. It's like, you give me a little stretch, a little meditation, and some good old fashioned Akashic records breaking bullshit, and I'm cool. It's kind of my vibe here, because anytime you're going too far one way or another, just not my thing. And so, if we talk about the principles related to the middle path here, what do I have in my notes? Oh shit, I don't zoomed in way too much on my notes. And so here what we're talking about is the column of balance. We're talking about Tao or Neter, natural, or the R, R, which is infinity, equilibrate, infinite light, consciousness, and Shushumna is the angel or entity related to the middle path or something. I gotta go look it up. Some of this stuff I'm going to look up. That's why it's on the notes, not the presentation. You see? And so, we can take a step back. And I just want to take a look at all the channels. And look at, myself. Not really. Don't want to see me. See who's been here. See who's looking like. Okay. Check the Twitch. Going back to my notes. Making sure I didn't skip over nothing too crazy. And so the general theme here, like I said, I don't want to make this presentation too long tonight. We want to be in and out of here and make it a little decent today. So the idea here of the left, right, and middle path. The right path is more related to contemplation, and the left-hand path is more related to transcendence. And so let's get into that a bit before we move on to the next section here. I guess I should be in this way so I'm not like behind the box type shit. And so we talk about the right path being more so about contemplation. We talk about being right-brained. It's more of a creative thing, I guess. It's more of the feminine brain usually, but the right path is related to the left brain. So let me shut up because I need to read my own fucking presentation. And so that's where we get the logic of contemplation from. And so when you look at things like that, you understand that the whole idea of contemplation and these things is that you want to think about it. Like, you want to actually go through this idea of understanding the nature of divinity. You feel what I'm saying? And as Amar said, what is divinity left? What are the signs of divinity? How does divinity speak? Even with this presentation, this is technically a right path presentation because I'm breaking down the symbolism of a sacred symbol in this path to divinity. So I'm giving you a right hand path science here. You see? And so with the left hand path, we're more so talking the path of transcendence, which is more so about deep meditation, the idea of stillness, the idea of Wu Wei. This is very Taoist. You know what I'm saying? This is very philosophical. We ain't doing a whole lot of talking. Sit here until you feel like you understand divinity from the reflection of self. And so the middle path is a combination of these two things. It takes the signs and symbols of the world and the sacred text and takes those understandings and contemplates them in a state of stillness, which allows for this kind of integration of both of the benefits. Because not only do we have this knowledge, but when the stillness that we perceive, we're able to contemplate the subtle changes in a way that has some depth. And so that's why I prefer the middle path, because it's less assumption, because you understand things at a depth that allows for you to process them and experience them and give you a whole experience that allows you. And this is why we're in the middle of the circle. You understand what's generating these levels of the reality, which is what we'll get into later. And so with that, let's get into that part of the presentation, which is the realms. Let's put that back up there. And I should have got some water. See, that's the part that I ain't learned yet. Like, why niggas be doing these presentations and they always stopping for, oh, I did bring water. See? Look at God. And so, there's a little less to say here because this is a whole another ball game of itself. Like, I had to go find extra credit to even begin to say that I did this part of the presentation any justice. Let's be clear. And this is beyond surface level, but it's not surface level. So I want to break down this image here because it's an image that I like. And I feel like it gives a lot of the undertones that some of the other images that I've been over so far have kind of lacked. And so what I'm more so talking about here is I just want to make sure on the presentation here that you can see my mouse. Okay, cool. And so what we see here is the pillar of dynamic and the pillar of structure. This is a different verbiage from the previous one, but there are some interesting things here. And so what we see here is that going to the right, left, right, whichever way you want to look at it. Let me see how to phrase this so I don't just make a fool of myself. So technically, yeah, okay, so left hand, right hand, cool. That shit kind of backwards. And so going to the right hand is more about action, motor responses, and active introvert triad, whatever that means. Oh, well, triad, doing whatever. Cool, got it. And so this is more about active action, active emotion, and active intellect. And so this is why this is the contemplating side of the presentation. This is all about doing these mental faculties and things in an active space in order to transcend these realms. And so when you look at it at this level, we're talking about your libido. We're talking about the ego ideal reward. And we're talking about the animus father. And so this is where we get into the masculine head, feminine head. That's where all that comes in. And so I know I haven't gotten into any of this yet, but we're still going over here. And so I went on over here on this side when we talk about this path, we're talking about thinking, sense data, and passive introvert triad. And so this is less of thinking about it physically. This is more about contemplating the subtle energies with passive action, passive emotion, and passive intellect. I'm talking about the animal mother, the super ego punishment, and more to do. I need to look up this word because I know what libido is, but I don't know what this is. And so this is the idea of taking away the senses, and this is the idea of delving into the senses here. And so you realize that these are both connected by the soul and consciousness. You see what I'm saying? Which is all sitting with Tiferet, which is the soul triangle where your consciousness sits above Tiferet, which is the self of individuality. This is all of the things that I was speaking about earlier. And so when we talk about this middle path here, we're talking about awakening / pre-conscious, liminal thresholds, feelings, ego identity, body. So I did before episode 1, if you were here, we said that, like I said earlier, this is more of the body. This is more of like the mind or ego identity. And this is the self of individual. This is actually the true you based off of this chart and understanding the symbolism here. And so spirit active concept, spirit passive concept. And so the point here that I like is that understanding that going through the middle path, not only are you transcending through the body to the ego, to the true self, you actually get a perception of the true self. Outside of these, you get views of the true self without understanding it. You see what I'm saying? And so, and then with that, with a perception of the true self, you get higher knowledge. You see what I'm saying? In a transperiential consciousness, this means you actually you experience multiple dimensions at once. To me, that's my understanding of this, and this is why I just feel like there's an understanding this symbolism and then practicing traveling this based off of the concepts and principles that most relate to you, and finding these paths is important because the goal here, no matter which path you take, is to get to the divine connection. And so that's why I want to get into the realms here, because this is the most important part of this. Most people aren't, you're not supposed to get here on a certain level. You can get to this version of yourself if you look at this as the body, and this is you reaching your crown chakra, which is what we're going to get into in episode 4, 5, maybe, depending on how things go. But the next episode will be more so about looking at this as the body and less so as heaven and earth. And looking at, so here, this is just the body by itself based off of these charts and the way I've been explaining it in the first 3 episodes. But you can also look at this as the crown of your body, and then look at this as traveling through your body, which is going to be episode 4. But for right now, what we're talking about is getting from the personal consciousness to the individual consciousness to the collective unconsciousness. And so, what does that even really mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, what is that? What the fuck? Nigga, what? Huh? Explain. So, this is your personal consciousness. This is most people's perception of the world around them. It's from their own personal view. And let's look at what the personal consciousness encircles here. And so the personal consciousness encircles here encircles the body. It encircles your passive and active actions, your ego identity, and your self-individuality. So your personal consciousness highest self can only reach here. If we're looking at where inside of this thing you as a individual can go. But also here, what you realize is that here blends this with this. So you can perceive this from here and get here. And that's how that trick works. But what we would call down here in the personal consciousness is the lower realm. This is the realm of creation. The lower realm, also known as the realm of Malkuth, represents the material world and the realm of creation. It is the sphere closest to the earthly existence. The realm is associated with the physical world, the body, and the limitations of the human consciousness. And so that last part is important because of what I was speaking on initially, is that this circle here is the limitation of what your mind can fathom, literally. Right? This is the scope of you. Like if this was the cross, you know what I'm saying? This could be the cross. This is you. Because you die here. You as a person, you with your name, where you from, all that shit die here. Up here, don't none of that got nothing to do with nothing. And so let's get into the middle realm, which is the individual consciousness. This is more so your mind or your soul self. You know what I'm saying? And so the middle realm is the realm of formation. The middle realm is also known as the realm of Yasad, which is this my die. Represents the realm of formation and connection. It is the bridge between the lower and upper realms. This realm is associated with the soul, the imagination, and the connection between the divine and the material world. And so this is the connection between the divine and material worlds because it's literally the bridge in between the both. If you understand what the Vesica Pisces is, the middle realm encircles the Vesica Pisces, or the womb of creation itself. You see what I'm saying? And so that's a powerful statement if you understand what I'm saying there. There's some layers to it. And I don't believe I had any extra notes on the realms here. But I do. But it gets more, we'll get into that. Yeah, we'll get into that after we get to the upper realms. Okay, so when we look at the upper realms here, this is the unexplainable side of the chart. This is the collective unconscious. This is what we understand to be where we all meet. You see this, all these stars. This is basically this is the soul family. This is the pieces being put together around this higher knowledge and this understanding of unity. You see what I'm saying? And transperiential consciousness, the consciousness of divine spirit. You see, we get into all these more eclectic concepts at the upper half of the pyramid. And I just want to take a second to explain that this little symbol took me so long to find and to figure out what this word is. And I'm still not even going to get into too much of what it is because it's this whole study by itself. But this is pretty much the tree of life from the top. And this is the, I think they call it it's a C word, contraction of the universe. So I'm going to just show y'all the rabbit hole that this took me down to find. So this is another version of the symbol here with the little less of the mess on it. And so as you understand this, it's just pretty much showing you, see, here, there we go again with that. I was doing good this presentation. But we come back down here and it shows you this idea of these layers of the realms outside of what we consider to be the universe. And so these are like the emanations of divine creation, pretty much in essence. I gotta learn Hebrew because I just need to know what this says. It wouldn't take me long to just pick the letters out and go figure it out, but I haven't done it yet. And so that just sent me on this like rabbit hole of races to find like all of these different symbols. If you watched the live that I did on Instagram, I showed a lot of this, but I figured I'd go through it here because what we see here, see, let me put this back up here. So what we see here is like these multiple worlds. This is what we see as the main tree. And these are these offshoot worlds. This is what we would see as the emanate. This is Malkuth emanating the reality that we live in these offshoots that also, like I said, I need to just learn Hebrew. But this got me into this whole furrow worlds concept, which is the extra credit from today. But I also wanted to get into this symbol here, which explains the lower visible world and the upper invisible world. And so you realize that the middle that we're seeing here, the middle realms here, they kind of encircle half of this, but they don't really catch this visible upper realm, which is the divine or upper realms here. And just something I wanted to point out here. And then you have this lower visible realm, but this is the realm that we exist in, as the lower realm is beyond. You see what I'm saying? The lower realm. And also, I'm not gonna get into any of this, but I also thought this was interesting when we get into this idea of this palace and this seven. This is a whole nother thing, but I went in that rabbit hole all looking for this guy. Yep. And why is that important? And why did I go on that rant? 1, because I wanted to. 2, because I don't give a fuck. But 3, because if I can get my screen set back up, y'all really gonna make me go through all the episodes. Yep. Y'all get a flashlight of why the first couple of episodes are like 2 hours and why I am speeding through this one. And so we went through the lower realms. I didn't even do this part of the presentation. I've been doing it from the back. But so now we're here at the upper realms. And that whole rant is because of this word here. So this is the realm of emanation, like we said. This is the idea of the source of all emanating itself to create the lower realm. Upper realm is known as the realm of, still can't pronounce this word, but this explains the circle symbol that I just went on and ran out. It's the idea of the contraction that creates the universe. It represents the symbol of the emanation and the divine. It is the highest sphere of the tree of life. This realm is associated with the divine, the infinite, and the source of all creation. Dope shit, right? Okay, and so that would pretty much give you the basis of what I wanted to cover for episode 2. So I want to thank you. Sit back out for a minute. If I can get back to my, and just let it breathe for a second, because yeah, that's a lot. But I've been getting into more and more of these concepts because I just believe that if we better understand that we haven't talked about money, government, nothing about any of these structures too much in the process of this trip from heaven to earth. And so a big part of this symbolism in the sacred teachings is understanding that a lot of this stuff is completely outside of everything that the average person thinks is relevant to life. And I don't know about you. I'd like to know, something other than heaven and earth and dying, and what the options were, and if what adjustments can be made. And so a lot of this stuff becomes interesting because not only it puts you in a realm of thinking, but it also puts you in an understanding of some of the systems that are at play. And so this last part is some extra credit. If you stayed this long, I appreciate you. If you just got here, we still got some time. We just getting into some kind of more extracurricular activity. I need to see my time right now. Make sure I'm doing all right. Yeah, I'm at about 40 minutes. So yeah, we cool. We're going to get out in about an hour. And we're going to try to keep presentations about that length until we have like questions at the end or a guest or something. But we're going to get into some of the extra credit stuff that I had set up. And I'm going to go ahead and go about my night. And so what I have for extra credit, let's see if I actually set it up. I believe I did. Boom, 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 boom. And so for extra credit, we have this mindfuck here. And so in the process of trying to make sure I'm thorough about what I'm teaching, I run into shit like this. And so as far as the symbolism that I do understand here, we can't understand that this is an extended tree of life, and that this sword here is just a flaming path through here. And so what this seems to explain from my understanding is that there are specific points on the tree that have entire realms within them that further extend the tree and the way that you travel through it. And so in essence here, what we're talking about is that there are jump off points where it's like, all right, technically I could come in here and I can't even really explain it, to be honest with you. That's why it's extra credit. It's like I haven't even got a chance to really sit here and go through all of this. But I was looking at some of this and just like, bro, how do we? Because it's still using the tarot as a center point for a lot of this. Understanding these principles in the order that they go in, I'm pretty sure it's symbolic in its own right. And so what I wanted to look at more so was just getting into actually the definition of the four worlds that I did find. And so when you look at that, you see that this is the manifest world, formative world, creative world, and archetypal world, which is representative of earth, air, water, and fire. A lot of people understand that fire is considered the archetypal element. Water, air, and earth is considered the result of these things settling together in a sense. Whatever, everybody has their own definition of that. Like I said, this is the end of the presentation, so it's going to get a little rocky with me navigating through this without being completely on point. But there's something else down here that I wanted to point out. And so when we get into this, we also see that these things are related to some of the platonic solids, in a sense, shapes and elements, as well as seeing these different realms as a 3D, 4D, 5D, which is a big thing that a lot of people talk about. I understand that the 5D is just the upper realm to the realm that we're in, and then there's more. And then seeing here these realms here. Okay, so the best explanation of this from my understanding and what I was able to gather is probably this image here, which shows that Asa is pretty much the entire Sephiroth that you can go through just getting out of Malkuth itself. You see what I'm saying? And then understanding that there's another layer of these same teachings here, which would be this. and then here. You see, and so the way this is separated here, you understand that there's an idea that there's levels within the levels of this. So the basic knowledge of traveling the tree is just step one, because you have to master it on each level of understanding. And so, in order for me to close out here and not make this too long, I just want to get through these different level understandings for a little extra credit. And if you want to study a little more, this is a fun way of looking through it. And so, like I said, this is just this extended, kind of giving you that space of what it would be like if you put these other trees interlocked within the system that already exists. This looks way too confusing. I kind of like the other one that shows it split. Kind of like how it is here, where you see that each one of these layers here is represented by a certain amount of the Sephiroth and the paths. And just understanding how this triangle in itself is a realm, this triangle in itself is a realm, and these triangles are a realm, and these are the concepts that describe these higher and lower worlds. And so, first we get into Wasaya. This is the lowest world closest to our physical reality. It is the world of action, creation, and manifestation. It includes the material world, our bodies, and daily experiences. This world is associated with the Sephiroth of Malkuth, the lowest Sephiroth of the Tree of Life. Malkuth is represented by the physical world and our earthly existence. And so next we get into Yetzirah. This world is above Asari and represents the world of formation. It is the realm of the astral plane where the blueprints for creation are formed. This is where the soul and imagination resides. This world is associated with the Sephiroth of Yesod, the foundation of the tree. Yesod represents astral plane and the connection between the divine and the material worlds. And then so we have Bera, which is the world of creation where the divine is first expressed. This is the realm of the archetypes and the celestial spheres. This is the world associated with the Sephiroth of Tiferet, the heart of the tree. Tiferet represents the divine light and balance between the upper and lower realms. And what we get here is as some of these words be killing me. This is the highest world closest to the divine. It is the world of emanation where the divine essence flows forth. It is the realm of the divine light, the source of all creation. This world is associated with the spirit, with the Sephiroth of Keter, Geralt, Hakama, and Binah, the highest Sephiroth of the three. These Sephiroth represent the divine essence in all creation. And so, all of that is really just said to Jesus Christ. Can I just get my extra credit window? Ooh, I need that. Thank you. I'm gonna get it together one day, y'all. And so, when we get into the four worlds, we're really more so just talking about this idea of the different levels at which you have to conquer self. So when we talk about the idea of the physical world, you have to go through the tree as your physical self, and the astral self, and then as the soul self. And then at the higher realms, you have to understand that this same principle exists for there. So as above, so below is pretty much where all of this concept comes in. Because in the process of seeing the three realms divide and understanding that these three realms also have four worlds that commingle in between these realms, which are all on these three paths. See how that begins to get complicated, which have 22 paths that you can travel to separate those, which are connected by 10 Sephiroth. And so we begin to get into the interconnectedness of what is considered the metaphysical blueprint of reality. And because that sentence there just in itself just kind of made my own head hurt putting it together, we're going to call it a night here tonight. I'm going to check the chat to see if there's anybody else here, and I'm going to check my notes to see if there's anything that I didn't notice that I meant to go over. Okay. So there is one point that I have some more notes on. So we're gonna go back for this one point, and then I'm gonna call it a night. It's not that it's nothing too important, but I have some extra notes on it. I most likely hit on most of it in the process of me just running my mouth. But we're gonna go back here. And because I specifically left it out of all the other episodes, I want to talk about dot or higher knowledge here. And so I just want to talk about some of the principles that are related to it and what it is. And so dot is a sephirot. It's translated as knowledge or understanding. However, that is not a sephirah in the same sense of the other 9. It is considered a hidden sephirah existing between Hakma and Binah, between wisdom and understanding. Dot is often seen as the bridge between the upper and lower realms of the tree. It represents the synthesis of wisdom and understanding, the point where infinite divine meets the infinite creation. And the key aspects of dot include hidden knowledge. Dot is considered hidden knowledge as a sacred sephirah. It represents the deeper, intuitive knowledge and transcends rational understanding. The word synthesis is potent, where Hakma and Binah, two opposing forces, come together in harmony. It represents the balance between wisdom and understanding. It's also where prophecy is considered coming from, and the ability to receive divine revelations. So this is the idea of connecting to this point via this higher version of your individual consciousness allows you to reach in here. And this is the idea of reaching out to God. The whole painting of Michelangelo reaching God. This is the physical self and the height of it reaching up to God and gaining this higher knowledge that's being passed down. And so this is a very deep concept when we get into divine inspiration. This represents the source of divine inspiration and creativity in the world. And so when we talk about people that are stars, natural stars, there are people that are naturally able to tap into this version of yourself. And so remember that everybody has the potential to be a star. It's sitting right inside of you, right inside of your soul, right inside of your body, right inside of your mind. And if you take the time to get into that and understand some of these inner workings, even if you don't feel like it is something that you have access to, you may begin to understand what you may not be seeing. And so I'm going to close with that. I want you all to have a great night. Continue to do great things. And on episode 4, we gonna really get into it. I'm gonna have some energy. I'm gonna be ready for y'all. And I really want to break down some of these deeper concepts and start kind of tailoring away from too much of a script and just kind of getting into some more fun things. This next episode is probably going to be that last little part of me getting into just the direct symbolism more so, but I kind of want to get into angelology next, and I have no frame of reference for who I'm comfortable referencing. The same way I did this, like I didn't reference any of my sources, so it's more so me just putting the information together and seeing how y'all receive it. But other than that, you all have a great night. I have fun. Goodbye. It's Against the Narrative. Shop at Players Collective.